All right, we're in 1 Kings chapter 6. And it came to be in the 480th year after the children of Israel had come out of the land of Mitzrayim, in the 4th year of the reign of Shlomo over Israel, in the new moon of Ziv, which is the second new moon, that he began to build the house of Yahweh. And the house which sovereign Shlomo built for Yahweh was 60 cubits long and 20 wide and 30 cubits high. And the porch at the front of the Hakal of the house was 20 cubits long, according to the breadth of the house, and its width 10 cubits from the front of the house. And he made for the house windows with narrowed frames, and against the wall of the house he built rooms all around against the walls of the house, all around the Hakal and the speaking place. Thus he made side rooms all around. The lowest side room was 5 cubits wide, and the middle one was 6 cubits wide, and the third one was 7 cubits wide. For he made narrow ledges around the outside of the house, so as not to lay hold on the walls of the house. And the house, when it was being built, was built with finished stone, made ready beforehand, so that no hammer or chisel or any iron tool was heard in the house while it was being built. The doorway for the middle side room was on the right side of the house, and they went upstairs to the middle side rooms, and from the middle to the third. So he built the house and completed it. And he paneled the house with beams and boards of cedar. And he built the side rooms of the structure against all the house, each 5 cubits high. And they were fastened to the house with cedar beams. And the word of Yahweh came to Shlomo, saying, This house which you are building, if you walk in my laws and do my right rulings, and shall guard all my commands and walk in them, then I shall confirm my word with you, which I spoke to your father David, and shall dwell in the midst of the children of Israel, and not forsake my people Israel. So Shlomo built the house and completed it. And he built the walls of the house inside with cedar boards. From the floor of the house to the ceiling, he paneled them on the inside with wood, and covered the floor of the house with planks of cypress. And he built it 20 cubits at the rear of the house, from floor to the walls, with cedar boards. And he built it inside as the speaking place, as the most set apart place. And the house was 40 cubits. It is the Hakal before it. And the cedar for the house inside was carved with ornaments and open flowers. All was cedar, not a stone was seen. And he prepared the speaking place in the midst of the house to place the ark of the covenant of Yahweh there. And the front of the speaking place was 20 cubits long, and 20 cubits wide, and 20 cubits high. And he overlaid it with refined gold, and overlaid the slaughter place of cedar. And Shlomo overlaid the inside of the house with refined gold, and made gold chains pass over the front of the speaking place, and overlaid it with gold. Thus he overlaid the entire house with gold until the entire house was completed. And the entire slaughter place that was by the speaking place he overlaid with gold. And inside the speaking place he made 2 cherubim of olive wood, 10 cubits high. And one wing of the cherub was 5 cubits, and the other wing of the cherub was 5 cubits. Then 10 cubits from the tip of one wing to the tip of the other. And the other cherub was 10 cubits. Both cherubim were of the same size and shape. The height of one cherub was 10 cubits, and so was the other cherub. He placed the cherubim in the midst of the inner house, and they stretched out the wings of the cherubim so that the wing of one touched one wall, and the wing of the other cherub touched the other wall. And their wings touched each other in the middle of the room. And he overlaid the cherubim with gold, and he carved all the walls of the house all around, both inside and outside, with carved figures of cherubim and palm trees and open flowers. And he overlaid the floor of the house with gold inside and outside. And for the entrance of the speaking place he made doors of olive wood, the lintel doorposts of 5th. And the 2 doors were of olive wood, and he carved on them figures of cherubim and palm trees and open flowers, and overlaid them with gold. And he spread the gold on the cherubim and on the palm trees. And so he made the doorposts of the door of the Hakal of olive wood, a 4th part. Excuse me. And the 2 doors were of cypress wood. the 2 leaves of the one folded, and 2 leaves of the other door folded. And he carved cherubim and palm trees and opened flowers and overlaid them with gold laid smoothly on the carved work. And he built the inner courtyard with 3 rows of hewn stone and a row of cedar beams. In the 4th year, the foundation of the house of Yahweh was laid in the month of Ziv. And in the 11th year, in the month Bu, the 8th new moon, the house was completed in all its matters, and according to all its plans. Thus he built it for 7 years. And Shlomo, chapter 7, and Shlomo built his own house for 13 years, and he completed his entire house. And he built the house of the forest of Lebanon. Oh, a long day. It was 100 cubits long and 50 cubits wide and 30 cubits high, with 4 rows of cedar columns and cedar beams on the columns. And it was paneled with cedar above the beams that were on 45 columns, 15 to a row. And there were windows and narrowed frames in 3 rows, and window was opposite window 3 times. And all the doorways and doorposts had square frames, and window was opposite window 3 times. And he made the porch of the columns 50 cubits long and 30 cubits wide, and the porch was in front of them, and the columns and the roof was in front of them. And he made a hall for the throne, the hall of right ruling, where he ruled. And it was paneled with cedar from floor to floor. And the house where he was to dwell in the other courtyard within the hall was like workmanship. And Shlomo made a house like this hall for Pharaoh's daughter, whom he had taken. And these were of precious stone, hewn to size, sawed with a saw, inside and out, from the foundation to the coping, and also on the outside to the great courtyard. And the foundation was of precious stone, large stones, stone of 10 cubits and stones of 8 cubits. And above were precious stones, hewn to size, and cedar wood. So the great courtyard all around had 3 rows of hewn stones, and a row of cedar beams, as was the inner courtyard of the house of Yahweh, and the porch of the house. And sovereign Shlomo sent and brought Hiram from Sor. He was the son of a widow from the tribe of Naphtali, and his father was a man of Sor, a bronze worker. And he was filled with wisdom and understanding and skill in working with all kinds of bronze work. So he came to sovereign Shlomo and did all his work. And he cast 2 columns of bronze, each one 18 cubits high, and a line of 12 cubits measured the circumference of each. And he made 2 capitals of cast bronze to put on the tops of the columns. The height of one capital was 5 cubits, and the height of the other capital was 5 cubits. A lattice network with wreaths of chainwork for the capitals, which were on top of the columns, 7 chains for one capital and 7 for the other capital. And he made the columns and 2 rows of pomegranates above the network all around to cover the capitals that were on top. And so he did for the other capital. And the capitals that were on top of the columns in the hall were in the shape of lilies, 4 cubits. And there were capitals above also on the 2 columns, by the bulge which was next to the network. And the pomegranates were 200 in rows on each of the capitals all around. And he set up the columns of the porch of the Hakal. And he set up the column on the right and called its name Yakin. And he set up the column on the left and called its name Boaz. And on the top of the columns was lily work. Thus the work of the columns was completed. And he made the sea of cast metal, 10 cubits from one rim to the other, round all about, and 5 cubits high, and a line of 30 cubits measured around it. And below its rim were ornaments all around, 10 to a cubit, all the way around the sea. The ornaments were cast in 2 rows when it was cast. It stood on 12 oxen, 3 facing north and 3 facing west and 3 facing south and 3 facing east. And the sea was set upon them, and all their back parts were inward. And it was a handbreadth thick, and its rim was shaped like the rim of a cup. like a lily blossom. It held 2,000 baths. And he made 10 stands of bronze. Each stand was 4 cubits long and 4 cubits wide and 3 cubits high. Excuse me. And this is how the stands were made. They had side panels, and side panels were beaten frames. And on the side panels that were between the frames were lions, oxen, and cherubim, and a pedestal above on the frame. Below the lions and oxen were wreaths of beaten work. And each stand had 4 bronze wheels and axles of bronze, and its 4 feet had supports. Under the basin were cast supports beside each wreath. And its opening inside the crown at the top was 1 cubit. And the opening was round, like the work of the pedestal, 1.5 cubits. And also on the opening were engravings, but the side panels were squared, not round. And the 4 wheels were under the side panels, and the axles of the wheels were joined to the stand, and the height of a wheel was 1.5 cubits. And the wheels were made like chariot wheels. Their axle pins and their rims and their spokes and their hubs were all cast. And there were 4 supports at the 4 corners of each stand. Its supports were of the stand itself. And on the top of the stand, 1/2 cubit in height, round all around. And on the top of the stand, its flanges and its side panels were of the same. And on the plates of its flanges and on the side panels he engraved cherubim, lions, and palm trees according to the clear space on each, with wreaths all around. He made the 10 stands like this. All of them were of 1 mold, 1 measure, and 1 shape. And he made 10 basins of bronze. Each basin contained 40 baths, and each basin was 4 cubits, 1 basin on each of the 10 stands. And he put 5 stands on the right side of the house, and 5 on the left side of the house. And he put the sea on the right side of the house to the east, facing the south. And Hiram made the pots, and the shovels, and the bowls. And Hiram completed doing all the work that he was to do for Sovereign Shlomo on the house of Yahweh. The 2 columns, and the bowl-shaped capitals that were on top of the columns, and the 2 networks covering the 2 bowl-shaped capitals were on top of the columns, and the 400 pomegranates for the 2 networks, 2 rows of pomegranates for each network to cover the 2 bowl-shaped capitals that were on top of the columns, and the 10 stands, and the 10 basins on the stands, and the 1 sea, and 12 oxen under the sea, and the pots, and the shovels, and the bowls, all these utensils which Hiram made for Sovereign Shlomo for the house of Yahweh were of polished bronze. The sovereign had them cast in clay in the district of Yarden between Sukkot and Sarathon. And Shlomo left all the utensils unweighed because they were many, nor was the weight of the bronze searched out. So Shlomo made all the utensils for the house of Yahweh, the slaughter place of gold, and the table of gold on which was the showbread, and the lampstands of refined gold, 5 on the right side, and 5 on the left in front of the speaking place, with the flowers, and the lamps, and the snuffers of gold, and the basins, and the snuffers, and the bowls, and the ladles, and the fire holders of refined gold, and the hinges of gold, both for the doors of the inner house, and the most set-apart place, and for the doors of the house of the Hekal. Thus all the work which Sovereign Shlomo had done for the house of Yahweh was completed. And Shlomo brought in the set-apart items of his father David, the silver and the gold and the utensils, and he put them in the treasuries of the house of Yahweh. Chapter 8. Then Shlomo assembled the elders of Israel and all the heads of the tribes of the chief fathers of the children of Israel to Sovereign Shlomo in Jerusalem, to bring up the ark of the covenant of Yahweh from the city of David, which is Sion. And all the men of Israel assembled to Sovereign Shlomo at the festival in the mouth of Yithanim, which is the 7th new moon, in the month of Yithanim. And all the elders of Israel came, and the priests took up the ark, and brought up the ark of Yahweh, and the tent of appointment, and all the set-apart utensils that were in the tent, And the priests and the Levites brought them up, and sovereign Shlomo and all the congregation of Israel who had assembled with him were with him before the ark, slaughtering so many sheep and cattle that they could not be counted or numbered. And the priests brought in the ark of the covenant of Yahweh to its place into the speaking place of the house, to the most set apart place under the wings of the cherubim. For the cherubim spread 2 wings over the place of the ark, and the cherubim covered over the ark and its poles. And the poles extended so that the ends of the poles were seen from the set apart place in front of the speaking place, but they were not seen from outside, and they are there to this day. There was not in the ark only the 2 tablets of stone which Moshe put there in Horeb, where Yahweh made a covenant with the children of Israel when they came out of the land of Mitzrayim. And it came to be, when the priests came out of the set-apart place, that the cloud filled the house of Yahweh, so that the priests were unable to stand and perform the service because of the cloud, for the esteem of Yahweh filled the house of Yahweh. And Shlomo said, Yahweh has said he would dwell in the dark cloud. I have indeed built you an exalted house, an established place for you to dwell in forever. And the sovereign turned around and blessed all the assembly of Israel, while all the assembly of Israel was standing. And he said, Blessed be Yahweh Elohim of Israel, who spoke with his mouth to my father David, and with his hand has filled it, saying, Since the day I brought my people Israel out of Mitzrayim, I have chosen no city from any tribe of Israel in which to build a house for my name, to be there. But I chose David to be over my people, Israel. And it was in the heart of my father David to build a house for the name of Yahweh Elohim of Israel. But Yahweh said to my father David, Because it has been in your heart to build a house for my name, you did well that it was in your heart. Only you do not build the house, but your son who is coming from your loins, he does build the house for my name. Now Yahweh has established his word which he spoke, and I have been raised up instead of my father David, and sit on the throne of Israel as Yahweh promised, and built a house for the name of Yahweh Elohim of Israel. And have appointed there a place for the ark, wherein is the covenant of Yahweh which he made with our fathers when he brought them out of the land of Mitzrayim. And Shlomo stood before the slaughter place of Yahweh in front of all the assembly of Israel, and spread out his hands toward the heavens. And he said, Yahweh Elohim of Israel, there is no Elohim in the heavens above or on earth below like you, guarding your covenant and loving commitment with your servants who walk before you with all their heart, who has guarded that which you did promise your servant David, my father. Indeed, you have spoken with your mouth and have filled it with your hand, as it is this day. And now, Yahweh, Elohim of Israel, guard what you promised your servant David, my father, saying, There is not to cease a man of yours before me sitting on the throne of Israel. Only if your sons guard their way to walk before me as you have walked before me. And now, O Elohim of Israel, please let your word come true which you have spoken to your servant David, my father. For it is true, Elohim dwells on the earth. See the heavens and the heavens of the heavens are unable to contain you. How much less this house which I have built. Yet shall you turn to the prayer of your servant and his supplication, O Yahweh, my Elohim, and listen to the cry and the prayer which your servant is praying before you today. For your eyes to be open toward this house, night and day, toward the place which you said, My name is there, to listen to the prayer which your servant makes toward this place. Then shall you hear the supplication of your servant and of your people, Israel, when they pray toward this place, when you hear in your dwelling place in the heavens, and shall you hear and forgive? And shall you hear and forgive? If anyone sins against his neighbor, and he has lifted up an oath on them, to cause him to swear, and comes and swears before your slaughter place in this house, then hear in the heavens, and act and rightly rule your servants, declaring the wrongdoer wrong, bringing his way on his head, and declaring the righteous right by giving him according to his righteousness. When your people, Israel, are smitten before an enemy, because they have sinned against you, and they shall turn back to you and confess your name, and pray and make supplication to you in this house, then hear in the heavens and forgive the sin of your people, Israel, and bring them back to the land which you gave to their fathers. When the heavens are shut up, and there is no rain because they sin against you, when they pray toward this place and confess your name, and turn from their sin because you afflict them, then hear in the heavens and forgive the sin of your servants, your people Israel, for you teach them the good way in which they should walk, and shall give rain on your land, which you have given to your people as an inheritance. When there is a scarcity of food in the land, when there is pestilence, blight, mildew, locusts, grasshoppers, when their enemies distress them in the land of their cities, any plague, any sickness, whatever prayer, whatever supplication made by any one of your people, Israel, each knowing the plague of his own heart, and shall spread out his hands towards this house, then hear in the heavens your dwelling place, and forgive and act, and render unto everyone according to all his ways, whose heart you know. Because you alone know the hearts of all the sons of men, so that they fear you all the days that they live in the land which you gave to our fathers. Also concerning a foreigner, who is not of your people, Israel, but has come from a far land for your name's sake, since they hear of your great name and your strong hand and your outstretched arm, and he shall come and pray toward this house. Hear in the heavens your dwelling place, and do according to all for which the foreigner calls to you, so that all peoples of the earth know your name, and fear you, as do your people Israel, and know that this house which I have built is called by your name. When your people go out to battle against their enemy in the way that you send them, and they shall pray to Yahweh toward the city which you have chosen, and toward the house which I have built for your name, then shall you hear in the heavens their prayer and their supplication, and maintain their cause. When they sin against you, for there is no one who does not sin, and you become enraged with them, and give them to the enemy, and they take them captive to the land of the enemy, far or near, and they shall turn back unto their heart in the land where they have been taken captive, and shall turn and make supplication to you in the land of those who took them captive, saying, we have sinned and acted crookedly, we have committed wrong. And they shall turn back to you with all their heart and with all their being in the land of their enemies who led them away captive, and shall pray to you toward their land which you gave to their fathers, the city which you have chosen, the house which I have built for your name. Then shall you hear in the heavens your dwelling place, their prayer and their supplication, and maintain their cause, and forgive your people who have sinned against you, and all their transgressions which they have transgressed against you, and give them compassion before those who took them captive, and they shall have compassion on them. For they are your people and your inheritance, whom you brought out of Mitzrayim, out of the iron furnace. Let your eyes be open to the supplication of your servant and the supplication of your people, Israel, to listen to them whenever they call to you. For you have separated them unto yourself for an inheritance out of all the peoples of the earth, as you spoke by the hand of your servant Moshe, when you brought our fathers out of Mitzrayim, O Master Yahweh. And it came to be, when Shlomo had ended praying all this prayer and supplication to Yahweh, that he rose up from before the slaughter place of Yahweh, from kneeling on his knees with his hands spread up to the heavens. And he stood and blessed all the assembly of Israel with a loud voice, saying, Blessed be Yahweh, who has given rest to his people, Israel, according to all he promised. There has not failed one word of all his good word, which he promised through his servant Moshe. Yahweh our Elohim is with us, as he was with our fathers. He does not leave us, nor forsake us, to incline our hearts to himself, to walk in all his ways, and to guard his commands and his laws and his right rulings, which he commanded our fathers. And let these words of mine, with which I have made supplication before Yahweh, be near Yahweh our Elohim, day and night, to maintain the cause of his servant and the cause of his people Yisrael, the matter of each day in its day, so that all the peoples of the earth might know that Yahweh is Elohim, there is no one else. Let your heart therefore be perfect to Yahweh our Elohim, to walk in his laws and guard his commands, as at this day. And the sovereign and all Israel with him slaughtered slaughterings before Yahweh. And Shlomo slaughtered slaughterings of peace offerings, which he slaughtered to Yahweh, 22,000 bulls and 120,000 sheep. Thus the sovereign and all the children of Israel dedicated the house of Yahweh. On that day the sovereign set apart the middle of the courtyard that was in front of the house of Yahweh, for there he made ascending offerings and the grain offerings and the fat of the peace offerings, because the bronze slaughter place that was before Yahweh was too small to contain the ascending offerings and the grain offerings and the fat of the peace offerings. And Shlomo at this time performed the festival, and all Israel with him, a great assembly from the entrance of Hamath to the Wadi of Mitzrayim, before Yahweh our Elohim, 7 days and 7 days, 14 days. On the 8th day he sent the people away, and they blessed the sovereign, and went to their tents rejoicing and glad of heart for all the goodness that Yahweh had done for his servant David and for Israel his people. Chapter 9. And it came to be, when Shlomo had finished building the house of Yahweh and the house of the sovereign, and all the desire of Shlomo which he was pleased to do, that Yahweh appeared to Shlomo the second time, as he had appeared to him in Gibeon. And Yahweh said to him, I have heard your prayer and your supplication that you have made before me. I have set this house apart, which you have built, to put my name there forever, and my eyes and my heart shall always be there. And you, if you walk before me as your father David walked, in integrity of heart and in uprightness, to do according to all that I have commanded you, if you guard my laws and my right rulings, then I shall establish the throne of your reign over Israel forever, as I promised David your father, saying, there is not to cease a man of yours on the throne of Israel. If you at all turn back, you or your sons, from following me, and do not guard my commands, my laws, which I have set before you, but shall go and serve other mighty ones, and bow yourselves to them, then I shall cut off Israel from the face of the soil which I have given them, and send away from my presence this house which I have set apart for my name. In Israel shall be a proverb and a mockery among all the peoples. And this house which has been exalted, everyone who passes by it shall be astonished and hiss and say, why has Yahweh done thus to this land and to this house? Then they shall say, because they have forsaken Yahweh their Elohim, who brought their fathers out of the land of Mitzrayim, and they took hold of other mighty ones and bowed themselves to them and served them, that is why Yahweh has brought all this evil on them. And it came to be at the end of 20 years that Shlomo had built the two houses, the house of Yahweh and the house of the sovereign. Hiram, the sovereign of Sor, had supplied Shlomo with cedar and cypress and gold, as much as he desired. Then sovereign Shlomo gave Hiram 20 cities in the land of Galilee. And Hiram came from Sor to see the cities which Shlomo had given him, but they were not right in his eyes. And he said, what are these cities you have given me, my brother? And he called them the land of Kabul, as they were to this day. And Hiram sent the sovereign 120 talents of gold, And this is the purpose of the compulsory labor which sovereign Shlomo raised to build the house of Yahweh and his own house, and Milo, and the wall of Jerusalem, and Hatzor, and Megiddo, and Gezer. Pharaoh, sovereign of Mitzrayim, had gone up and taken Gezer, and burned it with fire, and had killed the Canaanites who dwelt in the city, and had given it as a payment for the bride to his daughter, Shlomo's wife. And Shlomo built Gezer and Lower Beth Horon, and Baalath and Tamar in the wilderness in the land of Yehuda, and all the storage cities that Shlomo had, cities for his chariots and cities for his cavalry and whatever Shlomo desired to build in Jerusalem and in Lebanon and in all the land of his rule. All the people who were left of the Amorites and Hittites and Perizzites, the Hivites, and the Jebusites who were not of the children of Israel, their descendants who were left in the land after them, whom the children of Israel had not been able to destroy completely, from these Shlomo raised compulsory labor, as it is to this day. But Shlomo did not make slaves of the children of Israel, because they were men of battle, and his servants, and his rulers, and his officers, and commanders of his chariots and his cavalry. These were the chiefs of the officials who were over the work of Shlomo, 550 who ruled over the people who did the work. But the daughter of Pharaoh came up from the city of David to her house that he built for her. Then he built Milo. And 3 times a year Shlomo brought ascending offerings and peace offerings to the slaughter place, which he built for Yahweh. And he burned incense with that which was before Yahweh, thus gave completeness to the house. And sovereign Shlomo built a fleet of ships at Etzion Geber, which is near Eloth, on the shore of the Sea of Reeds, in the land of Edom. And Hiram sent his servants with the fleet, seamen who knew the sea, to work with the servants of Shlomo. And they went to Ophir and took 420 talents of gold from there, and brought it to sovereign Shlomo. Chapter 10. And the sovereigns of Sheba heard of the report of Shlomo concerning the name of Yahweh, and came to try him with hard questions. And she came to Jerusalem with a very great company, with camels that bore spices, very much gold and precious stones. And she came to Shlomo, and she spoke with him about all that was in her heart. And Shlomo answered all her questions. There was no matter hidden for the sovereign that he did not make known to her. And the sovereigness of Sheba saw all the wisdom of Shlomo, and the house that he had built, and the food on his table, and the seating of his servants, and the service of his waiters, and their attire, and his cupbearers, and his ascending offerings which he offered in the house of Yahweh. And there was no more spirit in her. Then she said to the sovereign, the word I heard in my own land about your words and your wisdom was true. But I did not believe the words until I came and saw with my own eyes. And see, I have not been told the half. Your wisdom and prosperity exceed the report which I heard. Blessed are your men, and blessed are these your servants who stand continually before you, who are hearing your wisdom. Blessed be Yahweh your Elohim, who delighted in you, to put you on the throne of Yisrael, because Yahweh has loved Yisrael forever. Therefore he made you sovereign to do right ruling and righteousness. And she gave the sovereign 120 talents of gold, and very many spices and precious stones. Never again did so many spices come as the sovereigness of Sheba gave to sovereign Shlomo. And also the ships of Hiram, which brought gold from Ophir, brought almug wood, a great many, and precious stones from Ophir. And the sovereign made steps of the almug wood for the house of Yahweh, and for the sovereign's house, also lyres and harps for singers. No such almug wood has come or been seen to this day. And sovereign Shlomo gave the sovereignness of Sheba all she desired, whatever she asked, besides what he gave her according to the hand of sovereign Shlomo. And she turned and went to her land, she and her servants. And the weight of gold that came to Shlomo yearly was 666 talents of gold, besides that from men of travel, and the profit from traders, and from all the sovereigns of Arabia, and from governors of the land. And sovereign Shlomo made 200 large shields of beaten gold. 600 pieces of gold went into each shield, and 300 shields of beaten gold. 3 minas of gold went into each shield. And the sovereign put them in the house of the forest of Lebanon. And the sovereign made a great throne of ivory and overlaid it with refined gold. The throne had 6 steps, and the top of the throne was round at the back. And there were armrests on either side of the place of the seat. And 2 lions stood beside the armrests. And 12 lions were standing there, one on each side of the 6 steps. Excuse me. The like of it was never made in any reign. And all the drinking vessels of the sovereign Shlomo were of gold, and all the vessels of the house of the forest of Lebanon were of refined gold, not of silver, for this was reckoned of little value in the days of Shlomo. For the sovereign had ships of Tarshish at sea with the fleet of Hiram. Once every 3 years, the ships of Tarshish came bringing gold and silver, ivory and grapes and baboons. And sovereign Shlomo was greater than any of the sovereigns of the earth in riches and wisdom. And all the earth sought the presence of Shlomo to hear his wisdom, which Elohim had put in his heart. And they were each bringing his present, objects of silver and objects of gold, and garments and armor and spices, horses and mules, the matter of a year by year. And Shlomo gathered chariots and horsemen, and he had 1,400 chariots and 12,000 horsemen, whom he stationed in the chariot cities and with the sovereign in Jerusalem. And the sovereign made silver as common in Jerusalem as stones, and he made cedars as plenty as the sycamores, which are in the low country. And Shlomo had horses brought out from Mitzrayim and Quay. The sovereign's merchants brought them in Quay at a price. And a chariot came up and went out of Mitzrayim for 600 pieces of silver, and a horse 150. And so by their hand they brought them out of all the sovereigns of the Hittites and the sovereigns of Aram. I hope you have a blessed day. Shalom.